Veronica Cardenas isn't just an immigration attorney. She's a former ICE prosecutor who walked away from nearly 13 years inside the system to fight for immigrant families instead of against them. Today, through her firm, Cardenas Immigration Law, she provides compassionate bilingual representation for clients across the country, handling everything from asylum and removal defense to naturalization and family petitions. She's also the founder of Humanigration, a premier training platform for immigration attorneys that delivers courtroom-ready templates, strategic courses, and monthly mentorship designed to help attorneys sharpen their defense skills and serve clients with more confidence. Her voice and insights have been featured by major outlets including ABC, MSNBC, The Hill, HuffPost, Business Insider, The Guardian, countless others, where she shares both her personal immigrant story and her perspective on building a more humane immigration system. Welcome to the program, Veronica.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so lots to chat about. Like one thing that I think is so interesting about your background is that you both serve clients, but you also have this great training platform for immigration attorneys to build up their skill set in the courtroom. How did you come to being an attorney? Sir, rather, let's talk about your roots in ICE prosecution and why you moved from there to working on behalf of immigrant families.
Yeah, so I came into law wanting to help people, wanting to help my community. And it was just a natural trajectory for me to end up at DHS. I graduated during a recession in 2010, and that was who was hiring at the time. And so I started there right out of law school. And when I first started, I was very new and I didn't really know what to expect from the job, what I was being asked to do. And there came a point where what I was being asked to do really conflicted with my moral compass. And so at that point, I had to make the decision to transition. And because I was there, because I was seeing this day-to-day things happening in the courtroom, people not getting due process, I started to think, how can we make this system better? Because every day for hours at a time, like at least 4 days a week, I'm seeing all of these injustices happen inside the courtroom. And so when I transitioned, I wanted to create a system for the people who are going through the process to get more information, because even when people are represented, I saw that they're just not knowledgeable about those little things that really affect their cases. That was my intention when I left. And then as I was starting to do that, I found more lawyers reaching out to me and asking if I had a mentorship platform. And teaching has always been something that has come natural to me. I love talking about all things immigration. And so that's how I transitioned to that space.
That's fantastic. So I know today's topic is about video marketing, and we're going to lean into that quite a bit because you have a great social media presence that's yielded, from my understanding, a great wealth of business for your firm and for consulting other attorneys. So, when you started working on behalf of immigrant applicants, what was the moment where you decided, or you realized that you needed to hear the attorney market that was also seeking mentorship? Like, was that something that came naturally, or was there a specific event where you said, I should also be helping attorneys as well through these courses?
That's a good question. And I think it's something that happened naturally. When one person reached out and I was doing these services, I thought that maybe I should just have a program, because when I was at ICE, we did have programs and I taught many of them. And so it just felt natural to pivot and now offer that to people who are on, the private side.
That's great. So, and we'll get more into the specifics of the training courses near the end. I would love for you to plug it and to discuss like how it works, pricing, etc. In the meantime, let's talk about how we initially connected. We found you, your presence, your social media presence, which also illustrates a lot of your press outreach. Like you've been on all these major publications. I am curious, do you have right now like a publicity arm, or is a lot of the publicity you're getting, the press mentions, the talking heads moments that you get, are those coming as a result of your social media presence? Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, and it's a little bit of both. So when I transitioned, I went deep into writing op-eds for
Mhm.
different places. And every time I write an op-ed, it does correlate to like media reaching out to me to speak about this subject. So there was a piece that I published in The Guardian,
Mhm.
and that piece like it didn't go viral, but it really did reach a lot of people because I had people from like, Britain reaching out to me, CNN International, CNN here, because the news, the media, they're constantly, now that I've like done a few things with them, they're constantly monitoring Instagram, TikTok, the news, like what is the chatter? What are people talking
Right.
about? And that's how they get their guests.
That's a cool hack. I've not heard that. So why do you start
Right.
writing op-eds?
Yeah. And for me, the why has always been a way. I deeply believe that immigration is an American issue. It's not a us versus them. It's America's issue at this point. And writing for me became my outlet about all these ideas I have to transform this system, to getting that more organized, because, sometimes I get so stuck in my head, but then when I say these ideas, that really like hones it. Okay. And then I get the feedback. And then from the feedback, I build upon that more and what questions people are asking. And so that was the purpose of the writing, to get clear on my ideas, to test it, throw it out into the world, see what response I was getting, and then seeing what was coming back to me. And so it did take a long time for me to place something, because what I was writing wasn't resonating with people. It wasn't landing, but it wasn't because it was because I wasn't making the message clear. And the only way I knew that was by, like submitting it out there. And so then when they started to land, then I had to not only write about it, which is a more intimate process, but then also speak about these ideas in like short segments, because everybody wants that sound clip that they can play.
That's great. So how often are you writing these op-eds?
So it depends on how busy I am and what's coming out in the news. I've learned that I'm very reactive
Mhm.
to things. So I can see something in the news and it just gets me so upset. And then I take to writing about it, especially because I want the public to also know what the law is like, because we see these things and it's not always true what they're saying. And so I want to make set the record straight in those points.
Right.
So I try to write at least, like, I don't know, maybe get one op-ed published every 2 to 3 months.
That's great. And so does it naturally get you invites from producers for certain like media segments or cable news? Is that what happens as a result
So
of the op-eds?
yeah, that's what happens, like with certain pieces placed in certain places, like the Guardian piece, for example, that did bring a lot of attention and I had a lot of media reach out. Initially, though, I did work with a publicist, like because that initial breakthrough is so difficult. There's so many people fighting for these like 2-minute spots on the media. And so you really need someone to be putting your face out there. But that comes with a story. So what are you saying? How are you filling this piece of origination that we haven't heard before? And that's where my branding came in. I really needed to work on, how am I presenting myself to the public? What story do I have to tell? Because if I'm not telling it, then someone else is going to tell my story about who I am. That was the part that needed a marketing strategy, a publicist, to see how are we presenting ourselves and what's landing with people. What are people ready to receive at this point? That took work. But then it was maybe December of last year where ABC7 reached out to me to do a special. And that was my first piece in the media that I did. And it was a day-long special on immigration right before Trump came into office. And that piece was probably the start of my, commentator media presence, because so many people watched that piece. Like after that, Pix 11 called me. They said they just had the TV on and then they heard me speak and they were like, okay, we need to reach out to this person. And that's how things started building. And then when you get that momentum, you have to lean into it. And so that kind of creates more work, right? More op-eds, more media appearances. And so at this point, it's a little self-sufficient. I don't have to work at it because I worked so much for it in the beginning.
It's cool because like you have these op-eds, which are like a funnel builder for these media placements, which appeals to both the attorney market, that could be your customer on the consulting side, but also the general client that may need immigration help. And I feel like the TV audience is definitely one segment of the United States. The print or op-ed is another segment of the world that reads as their primary media consumption source. And then there's the social media stuff. At what point did you say, well, I've got this traditional media stuff in the bag. Sounds like you have a system for it, which is great. It's self-sufficient. At what point did you say, well, I need to do something different for the social media audience? Because it is very different. And we're going to watch some clips right now. And it is very much of what I believe the social media audience wants to see. How did you reconcile the two?
That's a great question. And I think for me, it came from using my social media as practice because the media was reaching out. I'm writing op-eds. These are issues that are important in real time. How do I express those ideas? So I took to social media to practice that. Like, what are my most intimate ideas about this, and how does that land with the audience? And that really is what my social media is. How am I expressing this, and how is it being received? And I feel like the social media does give that like response time on how they receive messages. And so most of what I did was just organic, like just responding to what we're seeing and processing that emotion for the public through my lens, through the lens of someone who worked inside the system and someone whose parents are also immigrants and who's helping the community. And that is what I really strive to do in my social media.
Yeah, it's like you accomplish both. You get like the media, the traditional and the non-traditional media is represented in the social media side. So let's instead of talking about it, let's show a couple examples. I think, JC, why don't we pull up the MSNBC example first, just so that we can illustrate how Veronica takes her media placement and repurposes it for online use. And we probably won't be able to watch the whole clip, but we'll watch at least some of it for context here.
Is by the same standard as the federal government, whether that person is going to be a danger or at flight risk. And the federal courts had issued his release from federal custody. He was on monitoring, but ICE, in the ICE context, ICE, the officers themselves have the ability to make that determination and to trump anything that an immigration judge says for immigration purposes. In this case, everything seems like it's being sped up. Usually when someone goes to an ICE check-in,
so Veronica, this is a great example. I know this is very timely, the Abrego Garcia case. This was just posted yesterday. When was that appearance on MSNBC?
That was Monday.
That was
the
Monday.
appearance was Monday.
Okay, so I don't want to hear any attorneys say they don't have time to do this stuff, because Veronica went on national TV, got the clip, and put it up within 24 hours. Like that's great. And what I loved about it was that you had Spanish captions for those that don't natively speak or speak any English, and they could read exactly what you're talking about. I mean, that is a huge portion, if not the largest portion of your clientele. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's been I speak Spanish, but I'm more comfortable in English. And so one thing across the board, the messages that I get, speak more Spanish, please. Like, we want to know what's going on. And so the compromise there, until I am fully more comfortable doing it in Spanish, is putting the audio in Spanish.
That's great. And so that is a great way to repurpose content. Now, for attorneys watching, you don't have to be on national television to get clips, right? You can appear on webinars. You can appear in the community. You should not just think of video as sort of like this event where people come to your office and shoot a video once a year. Video can be shot like anywhere, any day, anytime. And so that should be repurposed. And Veronica, I think it's a great point. It should be in Spanish, right? If you're speaking to the Hispanic market, put it in Spanish, whether it's like AI overlays or captions. Now, there is another side to your social media presence that also appeals, I think, to another audience that's probably not watching cable news, that's not reading The Guardian, that's not picking up a newspaper. So, JC, why don't we pull up that clip for sort of another side of Veronica's social media presence.
Should be over.
So that is super intentional on trend with a lot of, I would say entrepreneurs. That's more entrepreneurial content, day in the life, showing what happens behind the scenes for these media placements. At what point in your personal branding, like experience or journey, did you say, I should probably be doing this? Or was this just general curiosity, or is this just stuff that you like to do?
Yeah, it's more from the feedback that I'm getting. Lawyers are scary. And to connect, which is what I'm really trying to do with my audience, right? To connect with people, they need to see you as a complete human being. Yeah. And so one of the feedback that I was getting is, what does your day look like? So I started to talk about more of who I am and what my day looks like. Like for that, I was never like big into social media or like pictures. But when you lean into that, because of the community you're serving, because of the people you're serving, and that's what their needs are, then you try to meet them there too. And so, speaking more about the fact that I'm a mom to 3 and, doing law, what my day looks like, how crazy it is, because that's what gets people to connect with me on that human level. And to me, that's what moves hearts and moves minds into what we believe.
Do you think that there's an added pressure these days for you to soften your image as an immigration attorney because of all the fear that's running through the Hispanic community nationwide?
Maybe, but I also feel that there's that element of trust, because in the Latino community, many people don't know who to trust. They've gone to lawyers before, they've fell into traps of people who are notarios, and it is a group, a population that are very vulnerable to scams. And that builds trust when people see that my heart's in the right place, I'm trying to do the right thing, you're not walking into a trap.
Got it. So I want to pivot a little bit to the business strategy now. Right now, the majority of our clientele on the immigration side, is it coming from digital? Is it coming from these media placements? Have you been able to attribute what percentage has come from which sources?
Yes. And especially in the beginning, this was important. This is my 3rd year running my own practice. I've just completed 2 years solid. Nice. And so the first year I didn't have a website. I didn't even have an office. I did social media and community events. And a lot of my clientele was built from that. So now I have a lot of referrals, and I always ask my clients, how did you find me? The first thing when people find me through social media, the first thing when they get a referral, they check social media. They're on social media. So they're checking me on TikTok, they're checking me on Instagram, and they're going through my posts to see, can I trust this person? Does she speak Spanish? A lot of my clients were like, I was nervous coming here because you didn't have content in Spanish, but we were hoping that we could communicate with you. So those are the issues or the concerns that they have that they can look at from my social media, and then that'll ease them to actually make the consultation to come in and to start a case.
That's it. I'm so glad you say that, because we talked to, obviously we're a law firm, marketing agency, right? And whenever we hear attorneys say why should we be here? The market's not here. I think it's exactly what you said. It's the due diligence, right? It's not so much that Facebook will directly bring in the client, but Facebook will give comfort to your potential clients that they can speak to you and your firm, especially if you promote that you're bilingual friendly. So yeah. What does the future look like for your social media presence? Are you doubling down? Are you expecting any changes in the next year?
I am expecting changes. There's things that as I've grown, I want my social media to reflect that growth. And so I am pivoting in the way that I'm presenting myself and the content that I'm doing. You can stay tuned. That's something that's work in progress. And I also wanted to add, I did not fixate on the numbers, because the numbers doesn't correlate to the amount of people coming in from that social media presence. And that is something that I learned directly from my practice. So that is something that I try, not to focus on, because that doesn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, great point. I am curious, do you have a social media team working with, what does this look like to manage and produce it and edit it and publish it? Who's on your stack?
So I do have a team that helps me. The ideas come from me. Like this is what I like to see. This is how I want to present this topic. And then, like you said, we'll take one idea and divide it into different ways on social media. So there'll be the video, but then there'll also be the carousel and then like the story on it, because people do digest it in different ways. So it is a team effort to accomplish all that, because I still work full time. I have, the mentorship, the law firm. And so it is the editing part. I did it in the beginning and it was just awful. It's not my thing.
Yeah, it's tough. It's like social media is it's another part of the business. It's like accounting, right? It's like no one wants to do our own accounting. Like I certainly don't want to do the editing or publishing for the same reason.
Right.
It's not my thing. So I totally get it. Is it are they mostly part-timers, contractors, anyone in-house full-time? Can you kind of describe the team?
Yeah, it's like a contractor. So someone handles it. We agreed to like 5 posts a day. And then the hardest part was like, how do we get information, especially because immigration's changing like sometimes by the hour.
Right.
So how do we get this information when it's hot? Right on. So it is a team of people that are dedicated to posting. That is their job.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So pivoting towards Humanigration, there's a great opportunity to plug our attorney. Our audience is all plaintiffs' attorneys, right? Some defense rather, but can you describe what Humanigration is? Talk about the courses you offer, how to work with you, etc. Feel free to plug it.
Yeah. Okay. So with lawyers, it doesn't matter what practice area you are in. I've had like personal injury lawyers that are servicing their clients, and then they come to them with an immigration issue and they may not feel comfortable, but then, the second lead, the third lead, like if there's a need there, some lawyers want to make that pivot to provide that service. And so I've had a lot of attorneys come in that way, where they're making the pivot. They want to learn more about immigration. It is a structured course. So we go through the nuts and bolts of removal defense. We talk about from the point that the case starts, like even before that, like how ICE is processing people, how CBP is processing people, to like what does a grant look like and what to do after that. So it is a structured course. We meet live on a weekly basis for 3 months, and it's in community, which I love, because we all learn from each other. I don't have all the answers. I'm not the smartest person in the room. I'm just bringing a collective group of attorneys together to make sense of what does not make sense right now. And we learn through community. We are in all different states. So what someone's seeing in Texas, I may not be seeing in New Jersey yet, or New York or California. And so having that weekly like dose of community and talking about the law has even helped me in my own practice. And the second thing is that we also stay connected. We become friends through this. Like I still connect with all the people that have joined my mentorship. We have a chat group where, anytime there's a stupid question, because there are other groups out there, but sometimes you feel like your question is stupid and you don't want to ask it because you're like, what are they going to say? I'm going to post it anonymously. And then you got those people too that are like, why are you posting anonymously? Like, just post your question. And so this is a safe group. We all know each other. No question is too stupid. And there's always someone to help and to respond and to lend a hand.
That's fantastic. And without going into all of your packages, where do your programs start at, so people understand what the investment level is?
Yeah, so they start at $3,600, and there's payment plans that we offer. It's live, hour-and-a-half course, and one thing that I'm very passionate about is I want to meet a person where they're at. So if they're working on a case, send me what you want me to review. We'll go through it in class. We'll talk about this case together, because that's the way people learn better. And we can all talk about it. So that's one of the things. I'm also coming out with the recordings, because if that price is too high, we're working on a digital version. Whenever you're ready, you can just go sign up, view the courses. So, and if you have a specific issue, you could just go to that one issue. Maybe this is what you're dealing with right now. Okay, you can download that and view it, and it's not waiting for the live course.
That's great, Veronica. It sounds like it's an amazing course. For anyone curious about the program, it's humanigration.com. We'll put in the show notes and the description below. If anyone wants to contact you directly, Veronica, we always like to invite people to share their emails. What's the best way to reach you?
Veronica@humanigration.com. That's my email. You could directly, or that's probably the best way.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Veronica. You're an amazing guest. We'd love to chat more about media placements and social media with you down the road. For attorneys watching this, this is a great example of how you can be in both traditional and non-traditional media to scale your practice and even potentially build out your own consultancy. So thank you so much, Veronica. Have a great day to everyone, and thanks for joining.
Thank you.